Welcome to the Global Discussion, discussions with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. My name's Simon Hodgkins. Delighted to be joined by an old friend, Denise Da Costa. It's great to have Denise here on the podcast. Let's begin by asking Denise to tell us all about her journey, some of her career expeditions along the way, where she's coming to us live from today on this episode, and what she's involved in today. So, Denise, over to you.
Hi, Simon. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here talking to you. Yes, so I'm joining you today from the south of Brazil. It's a place called Santa Catarina. I will expect you to visit at some point. It's a wonderful place. It's an island. So I came from 19 years living in Ireland, in Dublin, and to another island in a tropical country this time, which is where I was born. I was born in Brazil, and I left, at a very young age. And most of my life, in fact, I was outside Brazil. So I spent 23 years abroad, and I'm just returning home, I guess. So a little bit about me is I've spent the last 15 years on the corporate world, working for some of the major tech brands, Salesforce, Oracle, Zendesk, Sage, on my early days. And my role was sales enablement and performance. So to help the sales teams and organization to achieve more, attract, retain, and attract, convert, and retain customers. So that was my key role for the past 15 years. In that time, I also took a degree in psychology, which I did purely as a hobby because my background was really accountancy. But I love the idea of like what people are motivated by, what attract people to act in a certain way. So I did this purely as a hobby, and it really served me well. And today I work with the psychology of sales, which is really what creates performance. And it really has paid off a lot. As we say, when we follow your heart, it can never be wrong, right? It always add more to it. So that's what I do today. I work with sales performance primarily. I have left the corporate world just over a year ago, and I took that step, which is very daunting most of the time to a lot of us. But I jumped off the rat race with not a big plan in there, but it just wasn't. It didn't fit my life at that point anymore, and I set up my own business. I changed countries. I brought my two girls, 2 years and 5 years old, with me, and my partner Mark, which is Irish born and bred, and we are now set up here for the past 6 months, and I'm running my company, which I gave a Brazilian name to honor my origins, which is Tribo de Vendas, which means sales tribe. And after this sales tribe, what I do is I help startups, and I help them create a structure that will help them perform and create a sales organization that will really, really help them grow faster and scale and get rid of all this uncertainty that a startup has. And I have found a new passion on doing that, and I'm really loving this journey. I've really found my passion on doing that, and I'm really loving this journey so far.
Well, that's great, Denise. Thanks for giving us the quick tour. And I'm just wondering now, how are the girls and Mark finding life on a tropical island, coming from not too much a sunny climate in Dublin, Ireland?
That's an amazing question, Simon. And that was one of my biggest fears when I left, was like, is this going to work? But they are really, truly loving it. I've never seen the girls so happy. It makes it makes me choke a little when I think about this, because I thought they were happy, happy kids growing in Ireland, surrounded by family. But the freedom that a tropical environment gives them, the interaction with animals, bare feet, sand, the sea, the mountains, it's a different life. And I really love to see that. And Mark, uh, Mark, it was a tough one for him to let go of he has a business, he has businesses in Ireland, and quite honestly, when I made this change, was one of my biggest fears was like, is he coming? Because I didn't know whether he was going to be on board. And he was like, yes, let's do this, let's do it. Right, we talked, we planned. I came, I did my research, and before we made the big step of like, okay, I'm handing my notice, this is happening, he's like, yeah, let's do it, I think it's going to work. It got to a point where we were packing all the bags, and the house was fully packed. We were sending stuff down to Brazil, but he's still on his routine, going to work every day, coming back in the evening, go work. That was making me panic to a great degree, until we landed here. And it took him some 2 weeks to actually climatize with the heat, the language. He has zero Portuguese. And everything was a bit much at the beginning, but giving him 4 months to climatize, he is a different man. He is so much more relaxed, so much more chilled. We are so much more connected as a couple. We do so much more together as a family. He had to go back to Ireland now, just recently, just a month ago, for 2 months, just to sort out his business. And I swear to God, it was like he was going to war. We were so heartbroken, and he was like, I really don't want to do this. And I was here with the kids, saying, okay, we don't want you to go, but he still have things there. So he's literally packing up now. So I guess the learning here, which I only realize now, Simon, kind of 7 months since the transition, is that everyone has their own timing, right? I was ready, I was packed, I was committed. He committed a little bit later. Well, he was fully committed from the beginning. Obviously, we were his family, right? I had no doubt about that. But I think the penny dropped of all the things he had to do, which I did before I came here, just when he actually felt, okay, this is the new home now. And I learned a lot through patience, through love, because when you love someone, you wait and you give them the space and the time they need. And it was very interesting. Before he left, 2 days before he left this time, he proposed to me, and he gave me a ring. And I was so emotional about it, not because it was an engagement ring, but it was just like, it's like we reconnected. It's like all the loose ends came together, and he's like, I want to stay here, I want to commit to this is our life, and I love that we had the courage to do this. So it all worked out at the end. But yeah, we've never been happier, I have to say. And it makes my heart all warm inside, because I heard one time someone said, it takes courage to lead a great life. And it made no sense to me at all, because I'm like, well, courage to lead a great life, everybody wants a great life, doesn't need a lot of courage, you just want to really want it. But it takes courage, because you need to make really tough decisions, and you need to let go of things that became over time your identity. And that is where you need to tap in that courage to really make that trade, right? For what you know that is safe, to what you don't know that is uncertain, but if it's great, it will be amazing.
Yeah, I love it, Denise, and congratulations. And it sounds as though you've made some really big life decisions. And like from, you mentioned some of the corporate companies that you've worked at, whether it's Sage, global, software organization, Salesforce, known the world over, billions in revenue, or Oracle, again, the same, an absolute giant. And of course, Zendesk. And I think there must be people watching or listening to our discussion today, and half of them are probably going, "Oh, that sounds fantastic. I'd love to do that. It's idyllic, and and they're getting married and they've moved for a tropical island, and it sounds fantastic." And then there's probably the other half of the audience going, "Oh my God, that's so scary, leaving the corporate life, and how would I do that?" And that word courage is really important, is it? Because it must have been a huge decision to just to get to that point and say, no, we're going to do this, because it's not easy, because you're also taking the family, and
Yes,
so that's great. Thanks for sharing all that, Denise. Really,
of
really
course,
enjoyed it. So let's
of course.
talk a little bit about what you do now then. So now from the beach, from the barefoot, from the hammock and the laptop, how is this new global business empire unfolding? What are you involved in? What's the work that you're doing? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, yes, yes. This is this is what we see on social media, right? People selling, hey, come do this amazing thing. Look, you can work from a hammock or a boat in the middle of the ocean. This is amazing. There are moments like this where you may not take your laptop, but you take a break and you go wet your feet on the sand, and you do go and take a nap on the hammock, and there is a little bit of that, but there's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of time invested, and there's a lot of commitment to do the right thing for the right people. So it's funny because we were talking about courage, and we were both talking about courage, and these amazing names and these amazing companies. And I just want to touch on this briefly for the people listening, that when you work for such an amazing corporation like Salesforce, Oracle, Zendesk, they treat you so well. They really appreciate all the effort you go through, to make the company grow, to support them, to contribute. And that's an amazing thing, to feel that you're making that contribution. And you get bonuses, and you get champagne, and you get trips away, and you get I remember at Zendesk, we had this place called the meditation room, and it was a room where um, no technology was allowed inside, and they had like this big bins that you could lie on, and like massive cushions and places, and you could just go there whenever you felt like you need a break. And like we often went there napping. It's like it's an amazing world. They create the infrastructure to really help you do well and take the break if you need the break, and all of that. And that's an amazing thing to have, and it's a very hard thing to leave behind, right? You're being paid well to do an amazing job, to contribute to the growth of a company you really believe in. You're crazy to leave all that. This is safe. They love you, they recognize your work, you helping customers. It's hard to leave that behind. When I didn't know what I know now, but when I fast forward to where I am now, because I felt like, wow, will I ever have that feeling of really being part of something amazing and helping people grow, helping a company, being part of this team that I love? I really feared that I wasn't going to have that again. The toughest conversation I had was with my VP at the time, and telling her I wanted to leave for no reason at all that she could help me with, and she was like, okay, let's talk about this. But it was a really hard conversation because I loved her so much. We had a great relationship. So all of this is really hard for people to get around and think about. Fast forwarding to now, when I look at the contribution I'm making, like setting up my own company, when I got my company reg number, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this is really scary too, right? Because now I have to pay my own taxes. If I don't get work, I don't get paid. it's all on me, right? So there was this excitement and fear at the same time. And it was only when I started talking to people about the work that I do, that I set up the website, that I started uh, telling people on social media. I changed my Instagram to be all about what I do and my purpose. I felt that I could serve people. So organically, people start inviting me to do talks at women's groups and different types of groups at kind of business conferences, and tell them about my journey. And there was a massive interest on, like, how did you do this? You 23 years outside Brazil, why did you even come back? You know, we all trying to leave and try something out there. But that experience, that like, hey, the grass is not always greener, and we have some amazing opportunities here and experience, and helping them see that, and seeing that I can make that contribution and fill that trio and serve no matter where I am, because the work that I do for a large organization will continue to be the same work that I can do for a smaller group, maybe for a small startup, for a group of women, you know, entrepreneurs that are starting a business and doesn't really understand what they do. Some of them are really great at creating an amazing product, have no idea how to sell it, have no infrastructure, and being able to shed a light where there's darkness and help them see that what they want is closer to their reach than they think it is. It's so rewarding. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because I didn't know how it was going to be. You know, we don't know. It's the unknown, right? Is that, you know, it's driving in the dark. You can only see the next 10 meters, right? And you just do the next 10 meters, but you know, you want to go from this place to this other location, to this other place. And I knew I wanted to contribute. And that's my biggest calling, is like, I want to make a contribution to the world and help people to do more with less, and to shed light where there's no clarity and there's no structure, and just bring that energy and guidance to those small companies have really given me so much to do. So it's a busy period, but it's so exciting at the same time. So that's where we are now.
That's wonderful. And I think, you know, thinking about Salesforce for a minute, where you work for quite a while, they have a lot of big customers, but they have an awful lot of SMEs, don't they? Small, medium sort of enterprises. And I know
Yeah,
from some of the work that you're doing at the moment, you're not just talking about how they scale their business and start to get more sales, because obviously startups need sales, small businesses need to grow, they need to keep the revenue coming in. But could you maybe talk a little bit about turning the people that do buy from them and those customers that they get from, because you're kind of helping them turn them from just being customers and buyers to people that actually turn into promoters and supporters of the business, aren't you?
completely. That was my biggest piece of work during my time, especially at Salesforce. And I worked primarily for the small business division, the SMBs. And uh, one of my key focus was, okay, we don't want to just sell to those customers. We want to sell to those customers and attract other customers through this one customer, so that they can say, hey, go buy this solution because this really helped me grow. This really, you know, does what it says on the tin. So that was the biggest thing. And that is a mindset shift, because when you think beyond that immediate sale, your world just becomes a lot bigger than what you're focusing on now, right? Because a lot of the sales reps, let's say, so if I'm a salesperson, I think about my target. I just think about reaching that target, and I'm working there to talk to each customer on my list to sell to that customer. But if I think about, hey, I'm not selling to that one customer, I'm selling to all the connections that this customer has in their book of business. I'm selling to this customer's customer. That changed the game, because you make more effort to really truly serve that customer, to really understand their business needs, and to pitch beyond the immediate needs, because that business will grow because you know your solution will definitely make a difference. So therefore, you talk to this customer, you support them with their immediate needs, you prepare them for growth, and you tell them, hey, you know, this is where you are now, this is where you are headed. We're going to help you to get from A to B in a much shorter space of time, and this is what we need. This changes completely the mindset of a salesperson, because they're not thinking about that target anymore. That target is just a number that sits there. They're thinking about literally expanding that book of business that they have personally through that one customer that they have just engaged with, but serving them in a partnership way where they don't become just a salesperson that sold them something that's really great, but they become a business partner that they trust and they come back to when they start to grow and they need more. So that was really that key focus, and that post sales like engagement is fundamental, and it's so organic as well, because you're not just selling them something. It's like, hey, I will support you to get to that place. So therefore, doesn't end when you sign the check. You know, this is a continuous conversation that you can always go back to. That was probably one of the most rewarding things I did on that journey to like going from being a sales trainer to being a sales coach. And I think that came with like that psychology degree that I did, you know, just for a hobby, but really understanding like the inner reasons people have to buy something or to engage in conversation with someone.
Yeah, and just coming on to the psychology of things and also life experience, because I know you've done a lot of traveling over the years. You've visited many, many countries. And I'm just interested in, you know, that psychology degree, understanding business in different countries, experiencing different cultures. That must help you in the work that you do now. And do you find that your work today is coming from a particular niche, a particular sector, or a particular geography? Or can you work with somebody from, you know, pretty much anywhere in the world at this stage?
That's an amazing question, because I searched for that answer for many years. Every place I've been to, when I travel, I'm always seeking for like different experiences, and like, you know, let me buy a thing in this shop, or let me see what the sales experience is in this place, from the most simple places to the most like, you know, well-known restaurants, or like, oh, that looks like a really posh shop, let's go in and see what they're like. And what I have noticed is that sales is very much the same no matter where you go. There's good sales and there's bad sales. There's people that are telling you, hey, do you want to buy this shirt? Do you want to buy this? This is really great. This shirt has, look, it's black. I think this goes with your skin color, or, you know, I think this will look nice on you. And it's literally focusing on promoting a specific solution. And there is other places where you go and have an experience where they say, what are you looking for? Is that a special occasion? Like, what else do you need? Before they showed me anything, they're just standing there looking at me, asking me questions, and I just want to buy a t-shirt. It's like, but it's is that a gift? Is that for yourself? It's like, okay, is that a special reason why you're looking for this? Or do you know our store? Do you know how we work? They really promote that experience by asking me questions about my needs, and I love that. I recently posted actually one thing that uh, that I always pay attention to is like, how do they upsell things, right? So how can they sell me what I want and show me, educate me on what I don't know they have? And I went to buy food it wasn't anything special, it was a shopping mall. I had the kids, we were busy. I don't like to give them frizzy drinks, just an option. They're too small for it. They'll have enough time on their teens to experience that. So I tried to get natural juices for them. So I was in a shop and I said, hey, I want 2 orange juices. And she goes, oh, that combo doesn't include juices. It just includes fizzy drinks. And I said, okay, but I don't want the fizzy drinks. I just want the juice. And I could see the juice there. And they said, well, but I can't sell you the juice because it's not part of the combo. I was like, but you have it there. I just want it there. Well, I have to charge you extra. So she created a very bad experience for something that was very simple to do. I was like, okay, so if you have a product and you're very strict on how you want to sell the product and how you want the customers to consume that product, it becomes very hard to create a great experience because the customers have, they're all individuals, they're all different, they all want different things. You have to be able to be flexible with your solution. So I'm always looking for ways to improve that, and opportunities as well, because I was like, okay, this person definitely needs help. They're not being trained, and I see a business opportunity in every place I go. But it's really about having that concept, and this is universal. You have people that focus on experience and people that focus on literally just selling their products, and this is this is a thing I have found a little bit everywhere. So it's it's universal.
Yeah, it's a great observation. Thanks, Denise. Well, look, I want to change gear a little bit now if I can, and I want to ask some questions about you because I like for our audience to understand a little bit more about what makes our guests tick, how they think. My first question is around your learning style. Do you listen to podcasts? Are you constantly scouring the internet for information? Do you just learn by meeting people? Are you just switching on Netflix at the end of a busy day? How does the media consumption work for you? What kind of things are you attracted to? Do you read for business, for pleasure? How does that work in your world, Denise?
Yeah, I love this question because I love information, but I don't like reading. I feel like reading my my eye isn't as fast as my brain, and I can't read fast enough to consume information from a book. So I have a technique that I learned over the years with audiobooks, and I consume a huge amount of audiobooks when I need to get deep into some sort of information. And I read the audiobook, I listen to the audiobook. If I really love it, I buy it so I can make notes. So that's how I consume information, and it has worked for me so much. And I absolutely recommend for anyone that has problems actually starting and finishing a book or time to read. I listen when I'm a avid runner. Is not really a good description, but I have taken up running and I really love doing it now. So I do running every second day of the week. I do my 5Ks. Now I increased to 7 because I'm actually reading a book that I really love, and I need more time to finish. So I'm like, oh, I will do an extra 2 miles, and that will give me an extra chapter. So that's how I plan my reading these days, and it has really worked for me. And when I really love something, like a book that I read recently, I go there and buy the copy, and then I can make notes. Um, so that's how I consume information. I love social media for the quick, snappy bits of information that you get out of it. Chat GPT just came on and everybody's talking about it. I'm like, what is this? So it's straight to YouTube to get a quick video of what that looks like. What will this do for me? What else is coming up? And what is everyone saying about it? In 10 minutes, you get all the information you need. So today it's such an amazing world that we live in where you can actually get information fast and like literally at the click of a button. So I do love that, and I consume an awful lot of information. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And audio and a visual way of learning seems to be a great style. But I do know people, and I do it myself from time to time. I've been a big supporter of audio for a long time. And then you find yourself buying the book as well. And I often have discussions with family members saying, "Why have you got it in two places?" And I say, "Look, it's just something I do." Um,
Yes. Don't question. Just
yeah,
take
yeah,
it as
yeah,
it is. Yes.
yeah. So I hear you. And I suppose going for a run, adding on the extra couple of kilometers or the couple of extra miles just so you can finish a few more chapters. I like that. That made me smile. Let me ask you another question. Throughout your journey, your career, and this wonderful transformation that you're involved in, You must have people that have inspired you, that you admire, or that have given you a helping hand along the way. And maybe it's just a particular type of person or a character trait. But when I ask you that question, Denise, what springs to mind?
Wow. There's so many people that I admire. There's so many people that um, I learned from along my journey. I think everyone that you meet, it's never by chance. You always get something and leave them with something. I really believe that this is the case. Um, but there's one person that um, I know for a long time that has always been such an inspiration to me. And she's no, uh, celebrity, but for me, she's an amazing, and she's a superstar. Her name is Miriam Burney, and I met Miriam back in, wow, some 17 years ago when I first started at Sage in the Dublin office, and she was probably the second leader I had on my corporate life at that point. I was so young. I was very inexperienced. I was just starting on this corporate world. I still working like, you know, answering customers on the phone. I was like on the tech support side. And I remember when Miriam came to me, she said, there's a role that's going to open up in my team for sales coach. I think you should apply. And I thought she was crazy to offer me that, because as far as I could see, I had never sold anything to anyone. It's like, why me? It's like, is she okay? So I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. It's like, why? No, I actually don't even like selling. So why am I gonna teach anybody to do something I actually don't like? And she said, you don't know that, but you are probably the best salesperson we have here. And that, I was like, what made you think that? This is nuts. And I remember she said, do you know you are the best lead converter in your team? And I literally was like, no. And I remember at this point, we had a €5 prize for anybody that transfer a call to sales, and it converted to a sale. So you got €5 on your paycheck. And €5 didn't really move me. €5 is nothing. But I put a number in my head, and that number was 100. I said, if I can do 100, that would make me, transfer those calls. And I had a thing. I was like, I'm not going to push anybody to buy anything because that's not my job, but I'm going to tell them what they don't know. And if they want to buy, it's up to them. And I remember really focusing on like serving the customer, solving the problems, and say, do you know you can do this faster on this new version? Do you know you can upgrade to this? Do you know this is available to you? And most of my customers did not know. So by educating my customers, I was getting paid. And I remember I didn't know I was the best person on my team, but she could see that. And she could see how I was doing. I didn't know because she wasn't on my team, but she was observing me over time. And she seen that potential in me that I didn't see myself. She offered me the role. I said no. And she said, what if I tell you to work with a coach for 3 months to help you with your selling skills? And I said, okay, well, I'll give you that time. It's fine. I'm not going to take this job, but I'll do that. And I remember working with an amazing coach called Owen Fitzpatrick. He still works today. He's an Irish master on so many things, personal development, P&L, so many things. And I remember him making me write a whole list of things of like why I did not want to take this job. And I wrote a list with so much pleasure, like I never sold anything to anyone, la, 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 la. And at the end of this list, he took it off me, he read it attentively, and then he used those words, which I'm not even sure I can say this on this podcast, but he said, this is bullshit. And he ripped the page in front of me. And I said, I do not ever want to work with this person again. This is so disrespectful. He made me work on this for 10 minutes and he just ripped it on my face. It's like, what is this about? But 3 months later, after making so many calls, he said, "How many calls you need to make to be an experienced salesperson?" I'm like, "I don't know, 1,000." He's like, "Well, I'll give you 200. Let's start calling." And he made me call customers from my conference room to sell upgrades, to get experience. And I remember Miriam watching all this, saying, it's just a process. If it doesn't work at the end, you can just say no, and it's fine. And I remember working with Owen. He broke a lot of the barriers I had created for myself over the years. He showed me, look, you have something that is special. You do this with so much love. You have something to contribute to this. Why don't you just take a list and sit on the sales floor for a little while and work with some people and see what you think? And I remember taking this list. I was so scared. There was so many people with 10, 15 years of experience on that sales floor, and sitting there with them, trying to make those calls. And I remember one person going, how did you convert that? How did you do that? Can you sit on my call and see what I'm doing? Can you give me some tips on how to manage this call or this customer? And can you come on this call with me? And I remember people just naturally saying, I want to be able to do that, get a 300 € upgrade and convert into a 5K transformation, system that will really help this customer. And I didn't have any skills under my sleeves. It was just like, just help them. We have the products, just tell them what we can do for them, and that will be it. Really, there was no magic, thing that I was doing there. But a lot of people didn't know that, because salespeople just think about skills, process. Oh, if I ask those questions, or if I tell them about this thing that I think will help them, then it's all about what they have to offer, but not a lot about what the customer actually needs. So that was was a key point in my life, in my career. I joined Miriam's team as a sales coach, the first sales coach that Sage Ireland ever had. And I started training these people, I was still very shy to say, hey, come here and see how I do this. It was really like, hey, I don't know if I can help you, but if I sit on a couple of calls, I can give you some tips on how to do this. And it really, really started to work. And I really started to love it, because for me, that wasn't sales. That was just me helping people. And I understood that sales is about serving. It's not about your commission. It's not about your pay pack. It's not about another upgrade. It's about genuinely caring enough and loving what you do. I love that. It was an accountancy system I was selling. I hated accountancy. I did it for 3 years. I suffered doing T-tables. I did not want to do that. So I was really telling people, hey, don't do this manually. There's help here, right? So I understood their pain, and I could soothe it a little bit with the solutions we had. And that was a key thing for me on my career. Miriam was so incredibly supportive, and she really helped me see something. She could have just taken my no and say, okay, well, she's not ready. But she didn't, and she invested on me. But not only that, over the years, I joined her team for, oh my goodness, I was in Sage Ireland for 8 years. I think I spent most of that in Miriam's team. She used to come to me on our one-to-ones and say, what do you want to do? Is there something you want to learn? Do you want to study or something? Is there something you want to do? I'm like, yeah, but it's not really related to work. And she's like, what do you want to do? And I said to her, I want to study psychology. And she's like, well, go do it. I was like, well, I can't afford it. And I remember at the time, she said, do you know we have an educational sponsorship? I'm like, yeah, but that's only if it's related to work. And she goes, psychology is not related to sales. Are you crazy? Go do it now. Come back and tell me how much it's going to cost. And she paid for half of my college fees. Well, the company paid. But thanks to Miriam, I did one of the biggest things, which was to find psychology, which is something I'm absolutely in love with. It has helped me as a person. It has helped me to help others. It has really enriched that sales knowledge I already had. I was always moved by a commission check. It's like, oh, a commission check. Oh, this is extra money. This is great. And understanding that not everyone is moved by money, and people have other motivations that only if they they really find that they can have success in selling or in doing anything. But in that case, selling, it's not about the number, right? So understanding that was so enriching to my life in general. And she was an amazing part of that. Not only that, as if that wasn't enough, I got married in Ireland. I had a husband in the past. I was married when I joined Sage before I met Miriam, but then that relationship is split up. It split up. She was amazing, on supporting me through that as well. But the one thing she did was 3 years passed since I was divorced and gone through all that process, and I was learning to do things by myself. I was like trying to get my car NCT done, my national car test done. I hadn't a clue how to go about that. There were things I was still learning to do because, I never had to do before. I never remember I had to get my car fixed one day, and she said, "Oh, I know someone." And I was like, okay. And she gave me a number, said, "You go there and tell her that Miriam sent you." And I walked into this garage and I asked for this person. And out he came. He said, "What's wrong?" I told him about it. And he goes, "Okay, you need to leave your car here." I was like, all right. And then he said, "Oh, I'll give you a lift home." And I was like, oh, that's kind. So he gave me a lift home. That was Mark that I had just met. And I had no idea that today he would be the father of my two kids and my future husband, and that we would have this incredible few years to live together. So Miriam did not only help me through my career, inspired me greatly, supported me immensely. She also introduced me to my future husband and the dad of my kids. So I cannot think about a great woman without thinking about Miriam and the contribution she had to my life. Beside all that, which was really personal, what Miriam had to, what that really shows, like Miriam is an amazing leader that focuses on you as a individual and your needs rather than what she can get out of you as a manager, right? She was always focused on how could she contribute to my growth in general. She was never like, how can she be a better trainer? How can she be a better coach? Go do a coaching course, go do something. She was always like, what do you want to do? And she supported me throughout my life. And we're still very good friends today. We were friends then. You can never have, people say you can't have a relationship with your manager. We had great fun together. We drank together, we partied together. It was that, and we could always separate the work life and the personal life. But she is one of the most incredible humans I know. She's so loving and kind, and I have so much love for her.
Wonderful.
Gratitude, I think, is the word.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story, and most people leave a company because they don't get on with their manager, or it's normally they get hired for their ability, and then they get hired maybe for attitude, or because there's a falling out with the boss, or they just can't take the culture anymore. It sort of reaches a point where they just feel like they have to leave. And it's so refreshing to hear a story where somebody looked at the individual and wanted the person to do well. And it's so wonderful and a great testament to the way that was done, because many people or many companies would just say, okay, well, you're not interested, that's fine. And I think
Completely.
such a great story. So thanks for sharing that, Denise.
Of
And I
course.
suppose it leads on to the next thing I want to ask you, which is about advice. So whether it was sort of advice that you picked up along the way, or maybe even today you're sharing advice now, because you shoot forward from that experience that you've just shared with us. You've then spent many years in some of the world's biggest brands helping people in different areas and sharing your advice and your expertise, and now you have your own company doing that. So when it comes to advice in general, is there any advice that you hold dear, whether it's business related or life related, or is there advice that you often find yourself sharing with others?
Oh, that's another amazing question, Simon. This one thing, um, this one thing I always that I learned not a long time ago. Few years back, someone told me, "Go mind your own business." And I know we use that quite often for people to stop sticking their nose in your life, right? So it's like, go mind your own business. But what this person really wanted to say was, what does Denise want? What do you want? Go think about yourself. And that was really strong for me, because I know, like, in life, we are often tied to expectations, right? Being what your mom expects of you, what your dad expects of you, what your partner expects of you, what like your kids expect of you. And you often forget what you expect of yourself and who you really want to be. And I remember the context of the conversation was really me wanting to try new things and not being quite happy with the life I had. And it's like, it doesn't feel right. But I don't know if Mark wants to do that. I don't know if, like, my mother would be happy with that. And she said, what does Denise want? Go mind your own business. Your mother has their own life. Your father has their own life. Your partner has his own life. Whether you want it or not, you have your life. And that's the only thing on your sphere of control. What do you want? Go focus on that.
Yeah,
And
that's so important, Denise. So important. Yeah,
it's super, super important.
yeah.
And I remember that. And now, and then today, whenever I get someone that is tied to someone else's expectation and, like, focusing on what the other expects, I always say, what do you want? Go mind your own business. Because when you're happy and when you can transboard that into someone else's life, they will either come along because happiness is contagious, or they may not be ready, and that has to be okay as well, right?
Yeah, I really like that. And I think it is so important because quite often you can get really busy doing stuff and you kind of get in this sort of routine. And it's, you have to almost remind yourself in today's busy world to reflect a little bit, to pause a little bit, to think about um, what is it that I actually want? What am I trying to achieve? What's important to me? And I think that's such an important point that you raised, Denise. And just on that, when we think about where you're at today, you've moved country, you're a family unit that has multiple businesses. And what does the future look like? How do you do the planning? Because obviously you've had to plan to get to where you're at now, but your business, you're probably busier than ever. You're growing things, life is changing again. And when you look forward over maybe the next 6, 9, 12 months, or even further, what are you hoping to achieve? How does planning work for you now?
Yes, I'd love to tell you, Simon, that I have it all planned out and I have a whole schedule of things here month by month. The reality is, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot happening simultaneously. So it's a little bit chaotic everywhere, which is like great chaos. To more of that, please. But it's all a little bit up in the air at the moment. So I'm launching the website in English now to serve my international audience. It's launched in Portuguese. I'm on social media, so I'm kind of working heavily on that digital marketing space, on, like, raising awareness of my brand, my name. I have to remember, no one knows about my work and what I do over here, right? So it's like I'm a new kid on the block. um, I'm also planning a book, and that's going to be the 12 months. So my first book is like how to sell anything effortlessly, and I'm working on that. So that is a very exciting, very scary milestone that I'm about to kick off. We've done a first draft. Is is going through the whole process of like proofreading and all that. So that's going to be an amazing achievement for me personally. And that really is all about this self psychology, the experience, and all that stuff. So hope it's going to be something amazing. But that is like my key focus. Launching the business, getting like brand recognition, and like making sure people know where I am, how to find me, and increasing that contribution as much as I can to raise awareness on all of that.
It sounds like you've got a busy 12 months ahead, that's for sure, Denise. And I shall look forward to the book. But that's great, because I know that takes a lot of time too, just getting a book together. It's not easy. And look, just before we wrap up, Denise, just two more quick questions if I can. One is there anything else that maybe I haven't asked you about, or any other area that you want to shine a light on or re-emphasize with our international audience today? And secondly, and importantly, if people want to get in touch with you and find out more about your services or keep up to date with the book or the social media, where do you send people to? Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
Yeah, I'll start with the last question because it will be easier to answer. So it's like, you can find me on LinkedIn. So Denise Da Costa on LinkedIn, you find me there. There's lots that's going to happen on my page. I'm going to start sharing some of the journey I've been under, which I have never been great on social media. So this is the new muscle I'm flexing there. They can also find me on Instagram, Denise Costa Real, so REAL. Denise Costa Real, you find me there. You see all the daily content I'm sharing with people. And that's the two places. Obviously, we have the tribudevendas.com, which is the website. You also find me on ohanaoperators.com, which is a group of international professionals that I work with. And this is all in English. You can see the work that I do there and a little bit of what I'm involved in. I guess what I wanted to say to anyone out there that may be feeling stuck on something, or stuck on their job, stuck on their work, or they feel like they have a calling that's beyond the life that they're living right now, whatever they want to call it, make the first step towards it, whatever that may be. For me, was start understanding what is it that I wanted to do, and to do that, I had to tap into the things I didn't like about the life that I had, and that helped me shape the mother I wanted to be, the time I wanted to have, the climate I wanted to wake up to, the relationship I wanted to have. And slowly I started to build a life parallel to the life I had, that I was dreaming of. And the steps to get there started to show, and you get small signs, you get an invitation, you read a book that tells you something that you didn't think about, and the way will be shown before you. But the important thing is that nothing's permanent. You can change your reality at any point, and it's really important to be aware of that. A lot of people feel stuck. You are not stuck. You'll never be stuck. You're only stuck if you allow yourself to permanently stay stuck. But it's only up to you. It's like that analogy of the elephant tied up to the chair. They tie them up to the chair when they are babies and they can't move because they're not strong enough. But then they try and they try and they try and they try and they can't move. So then they grow and they stop trying. They are so much stronger than that thing they're tied up to. They can pull it at any point, but they forget that they're strong because they tried it so many times and they couldn't do. So people out there, use their knowledge they have and go do something great and serve people in whatever way you feel you can.
And you know what? That's a lovely note for us to end our discussion on today. So thanks to Denise. Thanks to everybody who's been watching or listening to this episode of the Global Discussion around the world. Make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, do everything I need you to do to help support the podcast. And I hope that you'll join me back here for some more discussions with creatives, leaders and thinkers. And the only thing left for me to do is to thank Denise Da Costa. Continued success for you and the family, Denise. And it's been great to have you as a guest today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. It was such a pleasure to be here, and I hope we get to do more of this again.